Welcome back to Backward Point. My name is Nazar Sayed. Half of this podcast is in Pakistan right now, and the other half is in Canada with my brother and co-host.
Bashar.
This podcast is a special one. We both just finished watching the second game of the Ashes, and there's so much controversy, so many things to talk about. The Bairstow run out, Ben Stokes is 155, the last session of the second game, England 2-0 down, is Bazball dead? So many things me and Bashar have already discussed a little bit off air, just in our family conversations, and then we just saved it because we wanted to talk about it on the pod, and we're here together as always. Bashar is in the early mornings of Canada and me in the evenings of Karachi right now, and let's just get it on, man. Bashar, you saw a second test match. You saw everything that unfolded. I was following on Cricket Info, but as soon as the Bairstow run out happened and Twitter just exploded, everybody lost their minds, like including I don't know if you saw it, but there were like businesses also, like Victoria Wine was also tweeting about it, and like just random things were happening. It was just a hailstorm going on Twitter and on the media. People were very, very upset about the Bairstow run out. Let's just start with the elephant in the room. What did you think about it?
So I sort of sat on the idea, let the whole thing marinate in my head. Initial thoughts when I saw it was, that's not out. Like, how can that be out? Bairstow clearly missed the ball. He marked his crease. It was the last ball of the over, and he walked through just across, have a discussion with Ben Stokes on the other end. And it kind of felt like gully cricket in a way, where you try to do these things where the batsman's leaving, you throw the ball, try to get him out. But the more I watched what happened, and the more that I got more context of how it happened and what was happening before the balls leading up to that single ball, I felt like now it was fair. What happened was fair. It was out. It was within the laws of the game. Actually, first innings, Jonny Bairstow tried to do the same thing to David Warner. The internet is a funny place. People have started to bring out old clips of even Brendan McCullum doing this to the England team back in 2009. So this is something that's been happening. It's within the laws of the game. I don't know where to draw the line between the spirit of the game and the laws of the game. If it's within the laws of the game, what is the spirit of cricket?
The question then arises, is the spirit of the game just you giving the batsman another chance? Because there was a lot of outcry from the English camp about this run out. Let's not forget the 2019 controversial ODI World Cup final. Lots of technicalities there. There's a lot of examples in the history of cricket where, yes, the thing that comes into my mind immediately is the Nepal game. I think it was Nepal versus Oman. Bashar, you might have to correct me. Where the keeper had the opportunity to run the batsman out, but the batsman had clearly fallen on the pitch, and he didn't do it. That's the spirit of the game, right? You have a chance, you don't take it because it's unfair. This is clear cricket law. I don't understand what the outcry is all about. I don't understand what the media frenzy is all about. This is a clear-cut stumping, run out, whatever, however you want to dictate it. The ball was not dead. All right. The ball, just because it went to the keeper, the ball does not die. I read the rules. The ball was active, and he's been notorious for doing this. Jonny Bairstow has. Jonny Bairstow has many a times, because there was a whole context behind his run out. He's many a times come out of the crease right after the ball passes, takes his guard, moves again, right? This happened previously 3 or 4 times during that game, the game that we were following. And it just, Alex Carey was noting it. These are specialist marksman keepers. They're aware of the game, right? This is a person who is playing the highest standard of cricket in the most competitive cricket played in the world in Australia. He knows everything that's going on around them. The wicketkeeper has to be like that. MS Dhoni was that sharp. Brendan McCullum himself was that sharp. And Alex Carey was just showing the cricketers around how attentive you have to be in the game. Right. And he just was. Bairstow was caught slipping. He was lazy. He was snoozing, I would say, on the pitch. And he was just caught. He caught himself walking onto the pitch. And it's a fair dismissal, I believe. Now, the question arises where a lot of people are talking about, even Ben Stokes said that dismissal is the make or break of the game. I don't know about that, Bash. I feel like Ben Stokes' dismissal when he left, the way he left with 70 odd runs on the board, left the chase. That was the end of the game. Whenever Ben Stokes is on the field, when he's in his pads on the crease, the game is never over. We're thinking about the 2018 Ashes all over again. This thing never dies, and I don't know. Do you think the Jonny Bairstow dismissal was the end of the game? Because I don't believe so at all.
I think it's definitely a very crucial part of the game. If you look back on story of this match, um, that thing sort of just highlights and pops up. I have to totally agree with what you said. Alex Carey was very attentive. He was had a lot of presence of mind to ensure, first monitor that Jonny Bairstow is leaving his crease early, and then to actually make that decision of stumping him. Um, I saw the replay of that dismissal from different angles, and you could see as soon as he caught the ball, Alex Carey, that's when he threw it immediately. And it took a few seconds for Jonny Bairstow to mark his crease and then leave again. Typically what I've seen happen of my years of watching cricket is that when there's an over, you look to the leg umpire and you confirm that, hey, I'm leaving my crease, or it's over. Am I good to leave? And then the umpire confirms, and then the batsman continues to cross or go to the other end for a discussion with his partner. In this case, I just felt like Jonny Bairstow was he was a bit casual, and I don't think that's fair. But I'm also sad that this whole test match, this has been an incredible test match, but it's all come down to this one moment, which I don't think it was the make or break moment. You could say maybe if Jonny Bairstow was on the crease, things could have gone like they might have had a better partnership. England might have had more wickets in hand. They lost by 43 runs. He could have scored those runs. You never know. But again, it's hindsight. It's a what if scenario. But it's just been incredible discussions online on Twitter, and I'm glad we're doing this podcast like 2 days after the test match happened, because it's given lots of people have dug up videos of what happened in the past. The shocking thing for me was when I watched Twitter and what was trending after the match. Ian Bell was trending. I don't know why Ian Bell was trending. He was not playing in this match. But what I found when I click on his name was that there was an instance where India was playing England in England, and there was a scenario where Ian Bell was mistakenly run out because he thought the ball went to the boundary for four, but in fact, Praveen Kumar, the fielder, had stopped the ball and eventually threw in, and Ian Bell was out of his crease, and Amazoni had run him out. So he was batting at 130 odd at the time, and
Very similar to the Azhar Ali run out, if you remember this.
exactly,
Right?
exactly,
It's very similar to
exactly
that.
what happened. Yeah, so MS Dhoni, being MS Dhoni, called Ian Bell back. He continued batting. So I don't know. It's hard to say what's the right thing to do here. If you're within the laws of the game, you should be fine to do whatever you want. Cricket, ultimately, we do say is a gentleman's game. But what transpired after that incident with Jonny Bairstow with the Australian cricket team, the MCC members, how they treated and yelled and booed the Australian team, not a fan of that. And especially to my boy Usman Khwaja, he got some extra words from the MCC members, which he even sought back to retaliate. Things could have gone ugly there, but yeah, it's just disappointing to see at the end of the day.
You mentioned this, and it's also known internationally as well that cricket is a gentleman's game. But the MCC, the members of the MCC, this is the oldest cricket club in the world. Right, the inception of cricket begins from these people, and the way that they retaliated and the way that they reacted.
They make
was
the
just
rule book for cricket.
Exactly, and it was just ugly to see that. It felt very sore loserish, and I don't expect this from England. England's seen their ups and downs. They had a really bad patch in the mid 2000s. Nobody can forget that. But they've sort of climbed their way up, and it just seems like their arrogance has gotten to their head, if I'm being honest. They thought that baseball was unpenetrable, right? Because they were going all over the world and just demolishing sides. Like they did that to Pakistan, they went to Sri Lanka, they did that to India as well. They were just demolishing sides. And now that there's a chink in their armor, their Achilles heel is sort of open for the world to take a stab at. They seem vulnerable, and they're just going to these tactics that are beneath them. To be honest, I don't expect this from the MCC crowd. I don't expect this from the MCC club. They're supposed to be prestigious. Voicing your disagreement, maybe you think it's unfair. Fine. It always takes me back to that Virat Kohli last over in the World Cup against Mohammad Nawaz. I thought a few of those rules going there were also unfair, but you don't see me complaining about it or pelting stones onto the Indian team about it. They want fair and square according to the laws of the game at the time. So my only message to the MCC crowd, MCC members, would be to grow up, man. Just grow up.
Yeah. Just to get a feel of what the people are thinking, we did a poll on our Instagram story. For the longest time, we asked people essentially, did you think that was out? Or, the two options were yes, it's within the laws of the game. No, it's against the spirit of the game. And for the longest time, the people were split halfway, 50-50 between
Very
the two
divisive.
options. Yes. But ultimately, I think we finished with the 57% people thinking that, yes, it was within the laws of the game. And the rest 43 thought that it was against the spirit of the game. So
people were actually also quite... People were also quite vocal on our Instagram, like you said, DMing us our thoughts about it. Quite some people were angry, like they were sort of mimicking the MCC attitude, and some people were more tame. You know what? It's in the laws of the game and all that. It always takes me back to the Ravi Ashwin debate, the Mankad. He gets a lot of shit for it. Which is funny, by the way. He tweeted in favor of that dismissal as well. I was like, that's so on brand, Ravi Ashwin. You're not even trying to be a little bit conspicuous. But I thought that was hilarious. But he also gets flack for basically what is part of the game, right? If you are lazy and you are trying to steal a run, you're trying to catch some yards, and the bowler has all the authority to run you out. I think it's a stupid rule. If I have a problem with the rule, change the laws. But as long as the laws exist, and this is the law of the game, you have to follow it, no matter how annoying I think it is, right? No matter how annoying I think, like I'm also in, like, the other rule that annoys me in cricket right now is the substitution, right? Substitution is sort of kind of maybe allowed, but only when the batsman gets hit in the freaking head, right? No other, like Nathan Lyon he barely could stand. And this man had to go out and face like 2-3 overs with one of the fiercest bowlings in world cricket. Like in that moment, the umpire or the third umpire or the match referee should be able to make the call and be like, you know what? This guy's literally, he can't walk, right? It's done for him. This series, he's out for the series. Get us a placement. Like, why does it have to be? There's only one slight, like, we can keep going back and forth with these gripes, but the fact still remains that is the current law of the game. And, if that's how I lose, then that's how I lose. I will protest the way that I'm out. I still think the Mohammad Nawaz of Kohli thing, running on free hit, being bowled, like all of that, I still think is really messy, and there could be a cleaner way to deal with this, but I'm not going to cry about it.
I think you mentioned a really good point about the Nathan Lyon, his injury, I think, which is huge news. He's out of the whole Ashes, tore his right calf, showed great sportsman spirit by coming out to bat despite having that torn calf. I think it's a gray area in the sense where people sometimes, what if there's a person who is having a bad day, not performing well, and they sort of fake an injury, they fake tearing a hamstring or not being able to walk, and they just replaced it with somebody else who's a better bowler on the day. But even when Nathan Lyon came to bat again, people were saying he only came to bat so he can get hit in the head. I
think Kevin Peterson said that. Kevin Peterson said that, and I think that was again a low blow from another person from the English camp. Who would want to get their player get hit in the head, especially Australia with the Phil Hughes situation? That was just a mean thing to say. That was uncalled for. That's not how international cricket works. KP should know better, and KP has been known to playing dirty his entire career. He should know better, man. He should know where the line is from what is sensitive and insensitive.
Yeah, but I agree that there should be something with the substitution, because technically for the last 1.5 innings that Australia was bowling, they were lacking their main bowler, Nathan Lyon. And the ironic thing is that Nathan Lyon just made the record for playing the most consecutive matches, test matches as a spinner, I believe, 101 test matches. And he got injured on while making this record. So now he's out of the Ashes. Todd Murphy will perhaps replace him. He's a like for like off spinner. He's a really good bowler who bowled really well in Australia's tour to India recently.
I'm just saying that the way to gauge how to see if a player is really injured or not is you have medics on staff. Now, this is modern cricket. We're not talking about 1975, right? We're talking about modern day cricket where you have staff available, you have medics available, you have high profile doctors that are on standby available, you have match referees, you have third umpires, you have multiple, like dozens of cameras around, right? And some injuries you can just see. Like the Nathan Lyon situation, it was quite evident this man is having trouble just being in the oval right now. Let's get him a replacement, right? So yeah, I mean, there's ways to judge this.
On the same vein, just looking back at the last World Cup, imagine if we had that substitution rule. Shaheen Afridi gets injured, we may be able to have brought like Hasnain or the Dahani into ball one of his overs. Do you think that might have had an impact on the game rather than us
100
bowling Iftikhar?
100% that would have had, like that would have been a make or break situation because at the end of the day, Shaheen bowled his third over with injury, couldn't even complete it if I remember correctly, right? And we had to get somebody else to complete the last 8 balls. And with T20, it's those finer margins. Every single ball counts. Like a dot ball is worth a lot more in T20 than it is in ODIs versus Test matches, right? So yeah, I mean these rules should, like, if cricket wants to evolve and become modern day, they have to see these rules come into effect. They have to be a bit more modern. I feel like cricket is trying to catch up. There are definitely rules: the power play, the free hits, the no balls, the reviews, how many you can take, etc., where things are getting a bit modern, but they usually take their times with stuff like this, and it's quite frustrating for their fans. But you know what? You won't see us crying about it, like I said before. And to quote John Mayer, if the MCC want to go cry about it, then go cry about it. Why don't you, man? We don't care.
I think because of this whole Jonny Bairstow incident, it's taken away from one of the great performances that we've seen in this test match, be it Steve Smith scoring his 32nd test match 100, going to 9,000 test match runs. Again, like you mentioned last episode, he is one of the greatest players of our generation and one of the greatest of all time, with his test match numbers that he has. And, on top of that, we saw one of the greatest innings from Ben Stokes, who scored the most runs at number 6 in a second innings in test match history. This man has a knack of showing up in the 4th innings of a test match. We saw him do it in Headingley. When day 4 concluded, I saw that England needed like about 250 odd runs, and I wanted to say it was impossible, but at the same time, when Ben Stokes is on the crease, I know he's not fit. His knee is having issues, and you could clearly see that by the way he's running, by the way he wasn't able to duck for bouncers on day 4. But again, a clinical knock. I mean, we saw Virat Kohli tweet out saying that Ben Stokes is the most competitive bloke that he knows. And seeing Ben push through on day 5 at Lords against the quality of Australian bowling attack, smashing them to all over the place at Lords, 9 sixes, 9 fours, 155 runs. And maybe he was, you could say, 40 odd runs short from leveling the series. But the fact of the matter is that England is 2-0 down. But a great knock from Ben Stokes.
Man, I feel like every time we talk about Ben Stokes's great knocks on Test cricket, it always goes down as being some of the best we've ever seen of all time. Like, this is just the quality of the player, especially with injury. I mean, I went back and started playing cricket here again in Karachi, and I can tell you, as a 26-year-old young man who is utterly unfit, Ben Stokes, I would like to be that unfit, if I'm being honest. Like, it's it's crazy what he can do with not even 100% juice in the tank. 155, fourth innings, fifth day. You know, you're batting with the tail kind of. Stuart Broad is there hanging out. He's not really sure how to conclude this. Even in the 2018 test matches, I think it was the last match in Headingley where he also got a life. Right, he got another life here by Steve Smith, and the thing with Ben Stokes is if you give him more than one life, he capitalizes on it. Right, he wants to make sure that he hurts you, and he was so close to bringing this game back. It's insane. Like Sir Ben Stokes, man. Like I genuinely think he is one of those players that is redefining the game. We think about the greats of all time in all sports. Ben Stokes, his name has to come up when we talk about Test match cricket. It's changing the way that people are approaching it. 250 on the last day is becoming approachable. People actually go out and go for the chase. They don't go for the draw, which England 100% could have if they decided to go for that negative mentality of, you know what, we're going to see this out, we're going to draw it, we're going to try to save the test or save the series. This could have been a very depressing game at the end, especially with the Jonny Bairstow stuff. But it became exciting. That being said, England is 2-0 down with one game just between them and the Ashes going back to Australia. Or actually, Australia has the Ashes right now. Could you clear that up for me?
Yeah, they will retain it, if you want to say.
Yeah. So Australia could retain the Ashes if they just win one more game. So all the chips are out, and England is sort of against the wall. But I want to talk about the fourth innings batting collapse that England faced, the 46 for 4. I don't know where that came from. I don't know why nobody showed up. It wasn't that difficult, I believe, to sort of see off the new ball, make sure you have wickets in hand. So you go into the fifth day with 8 or 9 wickets in hand. So you can actually have a stab at this. The fact that Ben Stokes has to come down, bat with the tail, hit 155, and still lose by 40, that says a lot about how the upper order, the higher order never showed up. Joe Root is sort of supposed to be the anchor from the top, and he's like nowhere to be seen in this game, which in this innings I should say, and that was tough to see as well. I think you can't keep. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's not to say in their defense, I think it was a top quality bowling spell by Mitchell Stark. A ball swinging in late, and I don't know if you saw the ball that he bowled against Ollie Pope. Almost gave me Shaheen Afridi / Muhammad Amr vibes of tailing the ball back in late into the stumps, and then the ball that Pat Cummins bowled to Harry Brook, top of off stump, nipping back. So I think it was, yes, I understand that they didn't show up, but those deliveries would get most good batsmen out. So I want to give their top order the benefit of the doubt of facing some top quality bowling from the Australians.
Yeah, I mean, no disrespect to Australia. I mean, full credit to Pat Cummins and his men. Like, they were on the money. They were ruthless, like genuinely ruthless. And there's a conversation to be had the opposite way. I mean, you're not gonna like this, but where the hell has Jimmy Anderson been in the past 2 games? He's averaging 73, strike rate of 156, 3 wickets in 4 innings. Like, this is abysmal. What is, like, Kevin Peterson was right to be pissed off. He used the word shambolic. I think he was being a bit dramatic for Sky Sports, but I'll retweet it. You know what? I'll retweet it. It was shambolic. Jimmy Anderson, Stuart Broad, these are the finest bowlers in the world. They're coming in. They're not even clocking 85 miles. You have something to say about that, Bash? Because this is genuinely appalling to me. This is Ashes cricket.
If I'm being fully transparent, I think what's happened here is that I thought Stuart Broad, if you want to talk about him first, looked tired. He looked tired from bowling long spells in the first test match. He's old. I don't think his body has recovered as well as it may have maybe 5-10 years ago. Jimmy Anderson as well, I think pace was down, looking tired, looking sore. And the one thing that Ben Stokes and this whole basketball thing has taken away from the England fast bowlers, their kryptonite used to be England seam bowling conditions, green top pitches, overcast conditions, Jimmy Anderson, Stuart Broad hooving and around right, left, through corners. But because of these flat pitches, they're not getting any movement, they're not getting any swing, and that this is what happens when you're focusing on making flat pitches and scoring 400 each innings. So Yes, I do agree that they've not been at their best, but there's reasons behind that. But I definitely feel like the next test match, England needs some fresh legs. They need some pace. We saw how well Josh Tongue balled in his second test match, his first ever Ashes test match. I'm thinking maybe if Mark Wood is fed in the next test, he can come instead of Stuart Broad or Jimmy Anderson.
Firstly, I just want to tell you that it's pronounced Tong, which is ridiculous. Um, yeah, it's insane that you spell it like tongue and you expect us to pronounce it Tong. But okay, Josh, it's up to you. It's your name. Firstly, secondly, I don't think that's a defense for Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad because I want to take you back to day one of the second test match. It's raining. It's overcast conditions. You know what? It's moisture in the air. There's clouds above the Lord's cricket ground, and still nothing. Still nothing. Like Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad should take lessons from Stark and Pat Cummins and Hazelwood and the gang to see how you bowl. The fourth inning spell that they bowled with 44 or 46 for 4 and left England 46 for 4, my bad. That's how you do it, right? This is Ashes cricket. This is the most intense test cricket will ever be. Not even that the WTC has enough repertoire as this game does or this series does. So you got to show up with your best. It's sad to see, and it's sad to even say this, but maybe we're seeing the end of the Broad Anderson partnership. They're touching 40. You know, Anderson has already crossed 40, 41. It just seems like you need fresh legs in. Do you think Bazball is in the place to make that move? You know, it's a do or die test match at Leeds. If they lose, it's all over from here. Do they go and switch out the two most important bowlers in English cricket history? And you would agree with that. Do they switch them out to get fresher legs in to see if they can bowl shorter on the deck, bouncier on the deck, hit the batsman a little bit, make the batsman a bit scared because right now these Australian bowlers are playing these bowlers like we play our cousins in gully cricket, man.
I have no doubts that maybe either one of them are going to sit out the next test match. There's Chris Woke on the bench. There's Mark Wood on the bench. And, you know, England has a myriad of options in their county cricket system. So do I think that they should be replaced? I think, you know, there is no replacement for experience. There's no replacement for Jimmy Anderson, who has close to 700 test match wickets. So at the same time, yes, they are tired. There might be a need for fresh legs, some extra pace. Mark Wood, I feel like, would be a good addition. We saw how well Josh Tongue bowled. I mean, he had that extra pace. He really troubled David Warner in both innings. Even his bouncers actually felt like they were a yard quicker. I saw a stat where the average pace for the Australian attack was 85, 86 miles an hour, whereas the average pace for the England bowlers was around 80 or 81 mile an hour. So I think that extra 5 miles, 10 kilometers can make a difference between timing the ball and mistiming it, nicking it, skying it in the air. So I think these are decisions more to be made by Ben Stokes. I do want to see some extra pace. I want to see Mark Wood, if he's fit, back in the side, trouble these Australian batsmen because if you recall, we saw a barrage of short pitch bowling in all 4 innings. It was almost weird to see every single ball being a bouncer. It did work, but they got wickets. England got Australia in the second innings like that, and then Australia used the short pitch against England in the 4th innings really well.
Who do you make the call? You're Brendan McCullum. You're Ben Stokes. Who do you sit down for Mark Wood?
Tough, because Stuart Broad, even though he's tired, he's still bowling well. Jimmy Anderson is just totally off color. The bowling that I've seen him bowl, there was just too many bad balls. He's not putting it in the right areas long enough, which is what Jimmy Anderson used to do. So maybe he's carrying an injury. Maybe he's just not, in rhythm. So perhaps I would give Stuart Broad a chance to rest out, recover for the next match, while I would bench Jimmy Anderson. Yes, I said that. I would bench Jimmy Anderson, bring back Mark Wood.
And if you're Jimmy Anderson, do you fight for your spot in the 11 or do you say, you know what, I think I'm being a liability in the team right now?
I think this is Ashes cricket. This is, like you said, it's high intensity. Everybody plays to win. And if Jimmy Anderson resting would mean that England might have a better chance of winning, so be it. I mean, there's also Chris Wokes here, so I think it's fair. And I also want to come back to the fact that England is 2-0 down. The fact that Bazball, Brendan McCullum, and Ben Stokes have been saying we're playing to entertain. We're playing to entertain, to play a good brand of cricket for people to watch. Ultimately, people want to watch England win. I love the entertainment. I love how exciting this is. But if I was an English fan, I would want to see results. We have seen results last 1 year. They've won in Pakistan. They've won in Sri Lanka. They've won, in New Zealand. But this is where it mattered. This is crunch time. This is the Ashes. This is the oldest rivalry in sports. This is high intensity cricket. So I want to see results. I know England's been very close. First Test match, you could say Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon stole the game from them, and then this last match they were 40 odd runs short. But these fine margins make or break a series. And sorry to say, Bazball, there's question marks on it now.
Yeah, I think Nasir Hussain said something similar as well. When I was listening to him talk about this, and I agree with both of you guys. I think it's fun, but I would not be. I would hate to be at the losing end of that basketball regime right now. You know what? I understand that it's entertaining. Fans are having fun. The crowds are insane. It's never been better than Ashes cricket than it has been this year, if I'm being honest. But you have to put the nail in the coffin, and you know what? Basketball isn't being able to do that, and I don't even know if this is basketball's fault. I just think English cricket has been missing the margin by 1%, 2% off. They're just a little bit off target, and that's just enough for Australia to capitalize. These are ruthless people, man. These players are insane. They don't give a shit about basketball. They don't care about whatever you want to call it. If you cannot beat them on the day, they will come and crush you. That's how amazing and disrespecting at times the Australian cricket team can be. So you cannot take them even for granted for even for a second. You have to go for the kill every time. And I just feel like the English cricket team has just been missing the mark by the finest margins, and that's what we're talking about, right? The last wicket in the first game, 42 or 40 odd runs here in the second one. We have 3 more games left. Ben Stokes is looking for a 3-2 victory. I'm still hoping for a Ben Stokes, Bazball, English cricket team revival. I think there's a comeback waiting. I think there's a comeback on the brink. Maybe Leeds and heading Leeds and Leeds, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, correct.
I think you'll have memories or sort of rejoined from years past, and you'll see another Ben Stokes or a new Ben Stokes come in from the ether. I think Ben Stokes is going for the kill now. There's nothing to lose. You go all in. And you go for the kill. There's no other way to win this because you have to go up 3-2. You don't have any margin to lose.
Yep. I agree. And then secondly, Australia is without Nathan Lyon. They've added Todd Murphy. The news just came in that Ollie Pope has dislocated his shoulder again, and he's out of the team. So that's a loss for England. One of their main batsmen down. But yeah, there's 3 tests to go. It's tough to say that England's going to bounce back because if they lose the next match, they've basically lost the series. Australia has retained the Ashes, and I cannot imagine the media backlash on this England team being led by 2 Kiwis, Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes, both born and raised in New Zealand. So it's just it's a funny turn of events here. But again, I've just been loving watching Test cricket and watching how intense these games have been. How it's a game of fine margins. One session that you play badly could cost you the match. So I think that's a good way to end this episode. This has been a review of the second test of the Ashes on Backward Point. This is your co-host Bashar signing out. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, I mean, you ended it at a strong point there. I think our predictions have been a bit wavered. We thought it was going to be 3-2 England. I mean, it could still possibly could be that, but
Hey, I said 3-2 Australia.
Oh, well, then your money's on the mark right now, so far as it goes. I thought it was 3-2 England, but I just may be off a little bit. We don't know. 3 games left. It's gonna go down to the wire. Tune in, guys. Just tune in. So don't forget to like, subscribe the podcast. Don't forget to rate us on whatever platform you're listening to. If you're listening to us in the car, in your room, whatever you're doing, give us a follow, give us a subscribe, and a review. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care of yourselves, and cricket. Long live Test cricket.